what would be your recommendation for just the best all around configuration?
Oh, dude,
For most people. All right, so Aaron, I know that you're not huge into immersive stuff. What would you say? I want to watch TV. I want to have a good system. What can you recommend to somebody? What would you recommend to somebody?
Me?
Maybe a couple recommendations.
Like
for
what
you.
brands?
Well, not well. It could be a brand, but what kind of configuration would you recommend for most people wanting to spend, a normal amount, I guess?
Oh man, I wouldn't even know. I would default to you guys as the home theater knowledge base there. I mean, I wouldn't know. I've been fine with 5.2 for years, so don't ask me.
I thought you were going to say a soundbar setup, which I thought would be.
That's what I thought it was going to say too.
Hey, dude, that works, man. There's some good ones. And they're simple, dude. Like, I get it. I understand 100% why people get them. And then, like, if you're talking, like, people our parents' age, they're not going to want to go out and buy, on average, they're not going to want to go out and buy a whole bunch of parts and have it put it together and, you know what I'm saying, wire everything up. Just get a sound bar with a little wireless subwoofer and you're pumping. Like, so many people I know say, oh, man, I love my little sound bar. And I'm like, oh, no. But I get it. So.
Well, you know what was funny? I reviewed a Klipsch sound bar. It was like $150, whatever I could find on sale years ago. And when I was done with it, I sent it to my high school friend, Chris. And he's like, oh, man, I got it hooked up and everything. And there's so much sound you're missing. And I was just like, yeah, dude. I'm laughing because I'm like, yeah, you still don't know. You still don't know. Yeah. But at least, it is definitely an upgrade from TV speakers. 100%.
Yeah.
TV speakers are small. The TVs are getting thinner and thinner, and they point the speakers down because that's the only place they can actually have them do something. So,
what about the Dragon thing?
Dude, that thing. Well, I wouldn't consider that really a sound bar. It's in a sound bar shape, but that thing is pretty robust. Somebody just asked me when I'm going to get one to review. I still don't know. I don't know.
Okay. Well, that's what I was asking. I was thinking that you might have gotten yours, so I didn't know.
No, if I would have gotten it, I would have been posting about all kinds of stuff.
That's true.
Because it is like one of the it's a pretty highly anticipated piece of gear, and for the right person, the right situation, I think it would be much better than a dedicated AVR and speakers. Did I just? Oh, hold on.
You know what? How about this to throw in the mix?
No.
Of course,
here we go.
Those JBLs. I always forget the number. It's not a very good.
4329.
4329, right? Okay. Dude, if somebody had those, I wouldn't complain. Yeah. If we're watching some TV, I would at a certain point be like, dude, this sounds pretty awesome. What am I missing out on?
Yeah.
Except it doesn't have HDMI. That's the only problem, right? I mean, I know you can get a converter, but that's the only thing.
I mean, you won't necessarily need ARC. I mean, if you can just go optical from the TV, or from your
stereo anyway, right? It's just stereo.
Yeah, you don't need all that.
And then a low, inexpensive version, some Cali Audio speakers. They have the new MM6, which have more consumer inputs on there. I think you'd have a pretty.
That's the Mammoth, isn't it?
Pretty good experience.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah. Project Mammoth. Yeah.
Yeah, they named all their stuff about where I live. It's
so stereo setup, soundbar setup. Okay, Chana.
Yo.
No, I think I have an idea what your answer is. What would be your recommended configuration that's going to work the best for the most amount of people?
Wait a second.
Okay,
we're talking about what are we talking? Are we talking about a home theater?
Home theater.
Okay.
Home theater. Okay, so I'm going to change up the question a little bit.
Oh, okay.
And just say, what's your recommended speaker configuration format? Where would you place the speakers? How many speakers? How many height speakers? Go.
I was actually somebody emailed me, and I'm actually making a video about this. So I actually was what do you call it? I was doing this very in-depth response to this guy because it's also like halfway like a script. So here's what I would do. And I'm calling this the Techno Dad Theater, right? Main listening position in the middle of the room, right? all speakers equidistant from the main listening position as much as possible, right? We're gonna put it's literally, look, I'm not gonna get crazy. Okay, maybe a little bit crazy. Okay. All right. Present, share screen. No. Where did it go? Oh, did it download? Silly. Downloads. Man, I'm so not into using this PC. Okay. Joe already knows what it's going to be. Joe already knows.
Okay. I do.
It's going to look like this. It's going to look like this. It's going to look, why else? Why would I not do something that looks like this? Right?
Uh-oh. I hope Reverend Slim's not in here.
All right.
About allocentric and egocentric layouts.
Who? Algorithm? Okay. So then because here's the, okay, stop that one. Now we going on to the next one. Here's the idea. Here's figure 1. These are the locations for the speakers in the room around the listener, right? Agreed? Right?
Okay.
We got the center, front left, front right. We got 7 speakers. Okay. So 7 speakers. Where are we? Now, figure 2, it only makes sense. It makes sense to me.
Okay.
Right? That we should just remove that. Stop.
I'm already waiting for the comments on this daily snippet here.
Why don't we just mimic what's on the ear level above us? To me, that makes the most amount of sense. After making Atmos for all this time, this is what makes the most amount of sense. Now, of course, depending on the room size, you know, do you need middle heights? Maybe not. Do you need front wides? Maybe not. So I don't know. This logically seems to be the best amount of coverage, right? Because it's about coverage. I do live events all the time. It's about coverage. Your home theater space, it's literally about coverage, right? We found out from making this Atmos that if I want a sound to come out of the front left speaker, it's got to be at 45 degrees to the left, off center. Same with the right. It's got to be 45 degrees instead of the commonly known 30 degrees. So if Dolby is changing these things without telling anyone, well, we have to revamp what we think and what we know about speaker placement for a Dolby Atmos home theater. Man, did I just rattle that off and it made coherence? All right, fantastic. So in this, 1 row of couches and nothing with the high back. Because you got that big headrest, what happens? You can't hear anything around you, right? So that's another aspect that people don't want. So a lot of the times when you look at home theaters, you're like, oh, this is great, and it reminds me of all the stuff I wanted to do to my car when I was a teenager. I wanted to get speakers and this, that, but then I also wanted to get an exhaust and I want to get an air filter in. And then somebody's like, dude, you can't do both. So if you look at creating a home theater, you got to think about, what do you want? Do you want performance or do you want aesthetics? Because when you go for performance, you're going to give up on aesthetics. When you go for aesthetics, you give up on performance. So it's a balance or give and a take. And for me, I would go with performance because I'm the one that's taking months to make an Atmos mix. I want to make sure that shit sounds exactly how I wanted it to sound. And if you go for the, height channels that are closer to you than your main listening position, you're missing out on that. And coincidentally, when I was at that mixing master class with Nick Reeves, Grammy nominated mixing guy, I was like,
you went to that Sweetwater thing where they were talking about Atmos mixing. Okay.
Not just talking, he was teaching, he was explaining his thing. And somebody always says, some idiota always says something like, oh, well, nobody mixes in the corners. Well, here, I have another clip. I just got to mute it because okay, it's muted. It's muted. Now I got to share. Oh, man, this.
Share. You got to turn back time?
Turn back time.
I loved on Deadpool 2 when they played that. I was like, this is so awesome.
So here's the dude's mix. And look, there's all kinds. Can you guys see all this?
Yep.
Look at all the green dots. Look, they're everywhere. Look, oh, we got some movement from the back, middle to the, and back again. Like, yeah, they're always like, oh, nobody uses that. This is what they do. They use it's like the Dolby Atmos render is like a canvas. Why would you not paint and use the entire canvas? That makes no sense. So for me, that would be my theater recommendation. Something that looks like the Dolby Atmos renderer. Speaker count 714 minimum, 716 good. 914. A lot of the mixers like 914.
Yeah,
they are mixing predominantly for headphones and not necessarily and they are not at all mixing for home theaters. They are mixing for the vast majority of people listening on headphones. So that's another thing. And I also mentioned to him, I'm like, hey, if I make a sound go up, and if the speakers are in the Atmos spec, oh, hey, we just got a sale. That sound is going to curve up toward, and he agreed. He's like, oh yeah, that's totally going to happen. He's like, it's okay in music. And I gave him the helicopter analogy or the helicopter example. If there's a helicopter on screen and the helicopter takes off on screen, that sound should follow the helicopter in the front of the screen. But how is the helicopter going to go up on screen and now the sound come toward me and up? And immediately your brain's not stupid. Immediately you're pulled out of the immersion. So why would I want to have this Atmos globe thing when I know it's actually more of a cube, since that's the way it's made? So that's how I would do it. That's my long drawn out thing.
I think I would go pretty much the same as you. I would say minimum 5.1.4, right? I like the 7 channels because if you have the space, stuff coming from further behind you is noticeable. And then if you really could expand, 7.1.4, yes, definitely. I would say minimum 4 high channels. Yeah. And then if you have an AVR that can, I would say something like, what's the minimum? 6700H from Denon? Something like that line where you can do 6 height.
Yep.
Okay. So 6 height.
Well, technically the 3800 and 4800 can do 6 height, but with 5 ear levels.
Okay. So. I don't know if I'd make that compromise. I think I'd rather have 7 ear levels.
Yeah.
It's going to be used more than 6.
Oh, for sure. Height. For sure. Yeah.
But here's what I want to say is the newer Denon and Marantz, you can have the top middles or middle heights. I don't know, whatever they're called. Right. So if you have 6 height speakers, you can have the front height that I would put on wall, rear height on wall, but then the top middles, they can be in ceiling if you'd like, because some people they just want something raining down sound on them.
Right. When they want to hear the rain sound from John Wick, they want it like
they want it. So I have a voice of God speaker, top surround, whatever you want to call it, that's above my head. I can't really tell it's coming from above my head. It sounds like it could be coming from all the speakers at once, which means kind of the opposite can be true also, where if all of them are playing, it can trick me into thinking it's coming from on top of my head too, right? So the newer Denon and Marantz allow you to use the top middles as a top surround, aka voice of God speaker. Right. So you can have those too, which means that if you're using Atmos, then you'll just have 6 height speakers. It'll just use all of them exactly where they're supposed to be. But when it comes to switching to Oro 3D, let's say if you're using Upmixer, which is why I use it, then it'll have front heights, you'll have rear heights, and you'll have a voice of God that's being summed from
combined.
Yeah. So that's a good combination. Right now, I currently have my system set up so that the rear surrounds are actually right above the surrounds.
Yep.
Rear heights, which is actually how Oro recommends.
Yep.
The problem is that when it goes,
don't ever select that in your AVR.
Oh yeah,
Atmos won't work.
That sounds correct if I'm using Oro Upmixer, but it doesn't sound correct now if I use play Atmos, because it's expecting the rear heights to be somewhere closer to the rear surrounds, not next to my side surrounds. So it kind of throws it off. like on our disc when it goes like from the side surround directly up, it kind of that works. Side surround, yeah, up. But then when it goes to rear surround and up, it goes back and then it kind of comes
and then forward again.
Yeah. So anyway,
it's different. When you have room issues, then that's when things kind of. I mean, if we can, like, I was thinking about a room. I'm like, well, where would the door be? How do we get into this room? What would be the optimal door placement? And then at the same time, you also have to understand your room boundary and your speaker boundary can be two totally different things. So there's also that. When I look at the Dolby Atmos renderer or the renderers when I'm making Atmos, what I'm looking at is the speaker boundary, not the room boundary, because they can be totally different things. All right.
Yep.
So there's that.
All right. If you would like to join us every week on Mondays at, what time is it? About 6 p.m. Central, which is the best time. That's where I am. Make sure you join us at youtube.com/Daily HiFi. We out.